Muted. Boom, boom. There we go. Audio. Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's iCkEdMeL. All right, we're gonna go over some of the updates with regards to the Idaho murders. Quite a bit to go through. I didn't really get to organize everything how I wanted to, but we're here. And so let me make sure everything's running fine. You guys can hear me clearly. We're on YouTube and Facebook. This was a really good post. Jazz found this on Reddit. And this thing here, I figure we can go a little bit through the timeline, but then we're going to talk about some of the statements, the contradictory statements, I guess, or things that they've gone back and forth on. We'll talk a little bit about Jeremy too, about the interview he did with News Nation and that he submitted his DNA, but also he had gone on to do more interviews after he said he wasn't going to, because I saw him on two different channels. Somebody emailed me today. He was live on another panel. So and just a bunch of other things. So this timeline is very nice timeline that was put together. I don't know who this was put together by, but it says here 11/11/2022 in the morning time, Kelly bought her Range Rover all by herself, then left her mom's house to go show Maddie her new car and go to Pi Phi party. The Pi Phi party / formal that night. Then at 11/12/2022, Maddie paid Kaylee with a note coffee. Then at 10:59 a.m., Ethan paid Kaylee with a note thank you. 11:10 a.m., Ethan paid Kaylee with a note yeah, which we've kind of covered all this. 2:30 p.m., Kaylee called her mom after sending pictures and telling her about how much fun she and Maddie had at the Pi Beta Phi party last night. So they were at a party the night before. 4 p.m., final Vandal football home game. 8 p.m., Ethan and Xana are at a fraternity party at the Sigma Chi located at 735, which actually that's going to take us into one of the next things that we're going to talk about, a video that I'm going to show you where they talk about a bit of the time gap and if there's a time gap. We've talked about that before because the map that the police put out said between 8 and 9 p.m. they were there, but then we've heard other things that maybe they were there longer. What's up with the time gap? We'll talk about that. Cry Havoc play at Forge Theater, Sweet Avenue. I don't know what that is. 8:40 p.m. Ethan paid Jack K with a note thanks. That's the Jack that we've spoken about before. 9 p.m. Ethan and Xana Kernodle leave for the fraternity party. I guess this has a timeline here. We don't know what happens, to my knowledge, unless this has the info. Then at 10 p.m., Kaylee and Madison are at the Corner Club. We've talked about that. 10:15 p.m., Kaylee and Maddie were picked up from their house per Kaylee's mom and sister. 10:20, Kaylee and Maddie arrive at the Corner Club for Kaylee's mom and sister. 11:13, now it's going on to 12 a.m. Xana speaks to her father, Jeffrey, for the last time, and he mentions that she was hanging out at home with her boyfriend. So by 12, I guess they were home. Still don't know the time gap, but 1 a.m., the two surviving roommates arrive home after being out in the Moscow community separately. So 1 a.m., 1:30, Kaylee and Madison leave the bar in downtown Moscow. 1:40, Kaylee and Madison seen via Twitch video at the Grub Truck. XX, Kaylee and Madison get a ride from private party. 1:45 a.m., Kaylee called an Uber for Kaylee's mom and sister, which I guess these are the red must mean something. Maybe I don't know where the thing is at. The red must be things that are like debunked or whatever. Ethan and Xana arrive at the residence on King Road. 1:49 p.m. or a.m. Sorry, a.m. Uber arrived to pick up Kaylee and Madison. 1:56 a.m. Kaylee and Maddie arrived home. I don't know if these are like corrections or I don't know what the red means. Finally confirmed by law enforcement 11/25/2022. The updated information. Neighbor Dakota Sparks, he and his partner Heather goes to bed and hasn't heard anything at all or seen anyone. This was 2 a.m. 2:26 a.m. Kaylee's first call to Jack D, then a second call, third call, fourth call, fifth call. 2:44 a.m. Kaylee's sixth call to Jack D, and then 2:44 a.m. Maddie's first call to Jack D, Maddie's second call to Jack D, Maddie's third call to Jack D. 2:52 a.m. 2:52 a.m. Kaylee's seventh and final call to Jack D, and then between 3 and 4 a.m. time of death of all four victims. The surviving roommates summoned friends to the residence because they believe one of the second floor victims had passed out and was not waking up. Friends arrive at the location. 11:45 a.m. Dakota Sparks leaves for work, not seeing or hearing anything. 11:58 a.m. 911 call from inside the residence on one of the surviving roommates' cell phone requesting aid for an unconscious person. Police arrive on scene and find a dog unharmed inside the residence. The dog was turned over to animal services, then released to responsible party. And then 5 to 5:30 p.m. Loudoun County coroner arrives on scene. I'm gonna skip all this stuff. We don't gotta do all this. So just kind of a basis of a timeline. This was interesting here too. This is the time gap conversation on News Nation.
Not far from where you are, the Sigma Chi house, to the house behind you. So, I mean, is it a long walk? Is it a quick drive? Like, give me a sense for how far away that would have been.
It's a very, very short distance, Ashley. The drive is maybe 3 to 5 minutes. If you put it in your phone GPS, it'll tell you it would take about 10 minutes to walk. But let me show you this. This is the house where the victims lived. And if you drove, you'd have to go down this road, which kind of winds around. But if you walk, which is what the kids here do, you can see right here, there's this little walkway that cuts down the embankment and goes all the way down to the main drag, so you don't have to zigzag around on the road. You cut right across. The frat house is right over there on the other side of that hill. So it's a very, very short walk. It's very easy to get to. And you mentioned it, there's that gap in the timeline. Police today acknowledging that they're still trying to get information about.
Okay, apparently that's Sleuthy's timeline. So what I'll do, Fresha told me that's Sleuthy's. So I'll put the link for her timeline in the description. So if anybody wants to follow up on that, we can give the proper credit. Timeline. Timeline there, okay.
What was going on during that gap? Listen to what the police told me.
The timeline has obviously been key. You've released some details, but there's a hole with Xana and Ethan. It says that they left the frat party at 9 p.m. but didn't get back to the house until almost 2 a.m. Yeah. Do we know where they were during that hole?
So I'm not sure that it says that they left the location. I believe it says that they were seen there. I think that's what it says. But we do want to figure out what occurred between the 9 and the 1:45, figure out who they were with, what that was going on, maybe any routes or paths that they took to end up going home, those types of things. Potentially, that is critical to the investigation. We don't know. So as students come back and they maybe had seen or been at the location with them or had seen them traveling through campus, we want to talk to those people. That's important to us.
Well, I mean, it's good to know that now, but no one has ever made a public appeal for this information about Ethan and Xana in that 4 hour and 45-minute gap. And here's the other thing that really doesn't sit well with me, Brian. Ethan is a member of Sigma Chi. He's a brother at that fraternity. And so for someone to say last time they were seen was 9 p.m., if they were at that party for the next 5 hours, somebody would know that. I mean, someone would know. It's his fraternity. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you would think, and you could go to the fraternity. I assume they have surveillance cameras outside. They could interview the members who were there. It certainly is strange that there is that gap there. And you heard the police again today saying they want people to come forward and tell them if they saw the two during that time.
All right, don't go anywhere, because I do have a lot of other questions for you, Brian, as well as viewer questions on that issue about...
We've been talking about that time gap for a while. That's why I wanted to bring up that timeline. Again, I didn't, that link, somebody posted that on Reddit, but they didn't give credit. So this, it belongs to Sleuthy Goosey. And so that link is in the description. And that's a pretty damn impressive Google Docs. Honestly, I've never seen one like that before, because it has let me see real quick. It looks like, oh, it's like an Excel sheet, really, but it has the references at the bottom, which is pretty dope too. Like this over here, additional info, news articles, videos, really in-depth timeline. All right, let me continue here.
About the weather and why that's really, really important. But in the interim, I want to do a quick deep dive on the significance of the gap in the timeline and why police may not want it to be the focus of the public. So for that, I want to bring in Ken Maines. He's a former detective and undercover FBI operative and has a reputation for helping solve unsolvable cases. Ken, weigh in on that. Why have the police not been screaming from the rooftops from day one? There's nearly 5 hours where we don't know the movements of Ethan and Xana. Public, do your thing. Instead, it's just Brian asking them.
Yeah, I mean, I think any timeline, any crime, a timeline is imperative. In a homicide case, it's twofold, right? So why they're not asking for more information, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, and I don't want to assume. But I am sure that they are looking into that, because it is of the utmost importance to figuring out what happened here.
So what are your thoughts about that? Would there be a reason, though, that they would just kind of brush that under the rug and, release it only in a little square on a map, where a lot of us thought they were at the frat party the whole time? Would there be a reason where they'd not want to, scream for all the video and all the information and all the tips on Xana and Ethan's whereabouts?
No, I don't think. I think it is just what it is, and that is they don't know. And if you don't know, I mean, you obviously can't put anything out other than that. And I think that's the case. And I think that's the case with this whole mystery, is they really just don't know.
Yeah. Ken, weigh in with your expertise. You know the violent and vicious nature of these killings, right? They were very, very good at what they did, whoever this killer was. All of the punctures could have been lethal in themselves, according to the coroner, all in the upper body. All four died. Nobody survived this.
I don't know if they were all in the upper body. I had thought I heard the coroner said that there was like one lethal, or at least one lethal. I don't know if they were all upper body. I thought the lethal one was the upper body, but that there was multiple stab marks and they didn't specify, I thought.
This knife attack. Does this scream revenge? Does it scream obsession? Does it scream something else to you?
No, that's the thing, is you can't tell just based on injuries if something is personal. There are so many variables. A homicide is so fluid.
Thank you for watching.
Man.
Go to.
They're just doing shorter clips, I guess. Cut them off. We're gonna get into the Vigil thing, because I haven't watched this. Many people probably have, but I'm gonna give it a minute. Let's do first of all Jeremy. And so Jeremy here, people have been targeting him. He's the neighbor to where the murders took place, and people have been coming for him on the internet. Now, I haven't really seen the attacks, but I've heard that it's happening. TikTok, YouTube, wherever. We've talked about it, and every time this guy slips out of my mind, there's another interview. I'm like, oh my god! But the guy's defending himself. He's been attacked. And even today, because I saw this one last night. I think we watched it last night on the thing, on the live stream. And he said he was done. And there was like literally 2 other live streams after, or 2 other interviews that I saw after. I'm like, oh Lord, so check it out.
Here for me just to be proactive. And so yesterday I just went to the police station. I walked in, I said, here's my name. I'm Jeremy Reagan. Yesterday I was talked to by the police. The 2 officers that had interviewed me weren't there, but a different officer was like, all right, give me just a second. So he went, grabbed one of the mouth swabs, came, took me into one of the rooms there, did a mouth swab, and said, all right, you're good to go. And so
he voluntarily went, to give his DNA, because I guess people were coming for him. And I don't think this guy's involved. But it's a crazy situation though, because I just keep seeing him, because I literally am not thinking about him, but then the interviews just keep coming, and so I'm like, oh, okay, it's another one. You know?
Oh, yeah, I just went in. They never contacted me. I just figured it's easier to just try and be proactive and just get it all out of the way sooner rather than later.
So you did the gumshoe work. You actually just went there. You didn't wait for them to come back. You went down there. What was it like when you went in? You just gave me a cursory description of what working with that police department was like, but did it seem like it was a den of activity? Was it busy? Did they seem confused as to who you were? Were they happy to see you? Did they give you any information for a follow-up? Did they say they wanted to interview you at all? Like, what was your interaction like?
So when I walked in, it was just a couple of people behind that front desk there, and then the people that were there didn't know me or recognize me because I hadn't seen them before either. They also didn't seem to really know my name, so I don't know if they were specifically dealing with the case or not. But yeah, it was just, I walked in, I said, here's my name. They said, all right, cool. And I couldn't remember the name of the officers that had come to interview me, because that's the first thing they had asked, is who are the officers that did it? And I was like, I don't know, but I have the phone number if that'll help you know who it was. But yeah, it wasn't busy in there at the time. I think at that point, officers were both out and about through town, but also getting ready to go to the Vigil and just make sure everything there was fine. Because when I went to the police station itself, there were just those three people, like I said, behind the front desk. I don't know if anyone else was in the back. I obviously didn't get to go back there. But yeah, when I walked in, it was just those three people out in the lobby area.
Right. It could have been very busy. It's not uncommon to really fan out in the crowd when there's a vigil in a high-profile crime like that, because killers do like to go back. They do like to mix in, and we're going to actually do some coverage on that in just a few moments of what exactly they would be looking for and what they might actually see. But what do you expect? I mean, first of all, I'm just sort of surprised that the officers that you originally spoke with didn't give you a business card or any kind of, identity.
They're not even, he's not even on the radar or anything for these police. They're just like, who's this guy? I guess when he had called him and then when he showed up at the police station, they're like, huh? What?
Identification that you should get back to them with any details that you might hear. Even if you could help and be a witness, you had no way of contacting them. But what do you expect to happen next, Jeremy? Or are you sort of as much in the dark as I feel like I am?
So I'm just as in the dark as you. I assume they'll send my things up, or my DNA up to the lab. It'll come back with the results in however long it takes. It's not like the officers just came in and interviewed me and left. I did have one of the officers' phone numbers so that if I did find anything or hear anything, I was able to call him. So it's not like they just totally left me in the dark with that. I did have a phone number that I could reach, but I didn't have anything with like their name on it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, usually you would think there's a business card, but maybe it's not the day of the business card anymore. The really important thing is that you've been pilloried on the internet. Chat groups have just had a field day, freely throwing your name and making these just phenomenal accusations. Do you think this act that you have now carried through with, which is supplying your DNA, voluntarily going to the police department, do you think that it's actually going to put an end to what's happened online, to the accusations and to the speculation, to the feeding frenzy?
I think it'll definitely help with most of it. There's always going to be a small contingent that even if the killer is found, they're still going to think it's the wrong guy. It was me instead. But I think the overwhelming majority of it will stop, which probably just means they'll go find someone else. I don't know what their plan is. People just like to do this for fun.
That's the thing. They'll just go down the list. They'll find somebody else. Ultra Dark CEO, thank you for the super chat, says, I really wish all the kids that have gone to that house recently would also volunteer their DNA to aid with the elimination. This assuming many of those children don't have their DNA in any database.
But yeah, I think mostly it'll stop with me. And so I hope at least.
Yeah. Well, listen, keep us posted, Jeremy. I appreciate you coming back to talk to us about this. And thanks for going in to volunteer your DNA too.
Yeah. Can I mention one more thing really quick?
Yeah.
So this is actually, until this case is wrapped up, this is going to be my last interview, because I feel like a lot of this has become centered about me and what's happened with me. And it shouldn't be. It should be focused on Xana, Ethan, Madison, and Kaylee. And so I'm just going to sort of stay out of the public eye. I'll still be available to reach through the various social medias that people have been reaching me to answer questions. But in terms of interviews, this will be my last one until the case is resolved.
Thank you for watching.
So that was Jeremy. And I did see 2 other interviews. I don't know when they were recorded. I mean, I got sent the live stream link to this afternoon. He was on the live stream talking. And I just wanted to show this thing too, because just to show that some of the people, like he said, I believe that most sensible people are gonna, all right, let's move on or whatever. But there's other people too. You see this, hypothetically, if the killer knew that he hadn't left DNA at a crime scene, voluntarily submitting his DNA would be a hell of a cover story. And people upvoted it. So, and they were, it's the conversation about the DNA stuff to move on, leave him alone. Some people said, I'm so tired of hearing about this guy. Bold move from a law student. So anyway, that's that. It's another video too from News Nation. Assessing forensic with former FBI director.
K-bar knives, if they sold one of these K-bar knives. One of the store owners in Moscow said that the police were going, to the stores to ask if they had one of these K-bar knives, if they sold one of these K-bar knives. And when you say that you can do a lot of damage, you're not kidding. This is the, United States Marine Corps issue K-bar knife. It doesn't have that serrated top that was talked about with the, the Rambo style knife, because it's not necessarily clear that that is exactly what the killer used. But I think you're right. And the coroner did say to me that many of the wounds actually could have been lethal on their own. But you're right. Subduing 2, murdering 2, and then doing it all over again a second time certainly does up the ante of how powerful and strong and calculated and effective this killer was. Talk about the forensics, though. Now you've got more than likely Ethan and Xana killed together in the same bed.
Killed together in the same bed. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. And I wanted to read this comment from Gunny Bunny. Says, during Vigil, Kaylee's dad said Maddie and Kaylee were in the same bed, and he did a national interview confirming that Kaylee had a stalker. That's hard to feel responsible for other victims' family. That it's hard to feel responsible. That it's hard to feel responsible for the other victims' families. The whole thing with the stalker thing, I'm confused about, because there's a CNN interview where I'm pretty sure he said that they didn't know about any stalker, and he asked about it, and he didn't know about anything, but the police said they were asking questions, I guess because they were investigating. The sister had said, Olivia, that she never heard of a stalker, and that it was kind of like one of those things that Kaylee would have told her. And then I see an article stating that I think it was ABC or somebody interviewed the father, and allegedly he said that she does have a stalker or something. I'm going to show you the article. So I'm just confused about that, just like I'm confused about it was targeted, it wasn't targeted. Well, it wasn't the people that were targeted, it was the house that was targeted, potentially. I have all the video clips, so we'll take a look at it.
And the mix of those forensics, but then upstairs as well, Kaylee and Maddie.
I don't know who gave her the knife. Ashley. Oh, what's her name? I don't know what's her name. Banfield something, right? It's Ashley, right? Yeah, Ashley.
And that mix of forensics, not to mention this house, which is not like a single family home. There's been, untold number of people through there, as a college house would be, parties and fun and friends and former tenants. How on earth do they sort through that?
Yeah, because the house was so public, and of course it was a rental house passed down from student group to student group. There's going to be a lot of trace evidence in there, hairs, fibers. I think the most important piece of evidence here is going to be blood. And it does complicate that if, in fact, two girls, victims were in the same room, because their blood could very well be mixed. And so you got to separate out. If you find a 5th profile in blood, that is more than likely the killer. But the risk of intermingling, mixing these blood samples and the DNA in them is higher when they're in the same bed. Then you got to separate those 2 profiles, and if there is a 3rd profile, separate out that. And DNA is tough when things start mixing together. But I think DNA from blood, specifically from blood, is going to be some of the type of bombshell evidence here. If you can find a fifth profile in blood, that's your killer.
And then also, if there is some trace evidence like fiber or fingerprints or a hair that is mixed in with the blood, that's in an area that wouldn't be a past tenant or a floor or a surface somewhere, but instead on that body. I mean, I suppose you could say there could be transfer evidence if the killer traipsed through a DNA-rich home and then transferred some of that, DNA from a year ago or 2 parties ago to the bodies. I certainly could see a defense attorney using that.
Yeah, in some ways it is a forensic nightmare with so many different people coming in and out of the house. The hairs and fibers are raining off of clothes all the time. Fingerprints.
Thank you for watching.
More stuff before we get to the Vigil stuff. Idaho murders. Prosecutor says house was targeted, not necessarily individuals. The prosecutor in charge of the Idaho quadruple murder case says there's been a misunderstanding when cops said that this crime was targeted. Apparently, they meant the house itself was in somebody's crosshairs, not necessarily any individuals themselves. What does that mean? What about the house? Just the house itself? Is there a reason? Like, does the house have a history? Anybody in the chat? Let's listen to this.
One thing that we've been told is that this was targeted. That's
right.
One word that's come up, targeted. Can you shed any more light on that? Because even with the students and some of the victims' families, they've almost been frustrated by that, not really knowing what that means.
It seems like the word targeted has had different understandings for different people who are listening, and perhaps isn't the best word to use. The bottom line is whoever's responsible for this is still at large. That can't be changed. My understanding is the investigators believe that whoever's responsible was specifically looking at this particular residence, but that's all that they can offer at this point.
Can they say whether they were looking at whether the person responsible was looking at a particular individual?
I don't think they can say that at this point. They are still, that's part of the investigation, is trying to determine.
It's not only that, it's that, we've seen interviews, and I probably should, I'm tired of playing that CNN interview over and over, but like the CNN reporter had asked Kaylee's father about whether this was targeted or not. And there was rumors that it was targeted, and rumors that it was Kaylee, but then I've heard all kinds of rumors. And so it just seems like it's gone back and forth.
Who might have been the target.
Just like the Stalker thing.
Target.
Do you know inside the house whether the victims' doors were locked into their individual rooms?
I don't know that.
Were any of the victims found outside of their beds? Like, is it possible some of the victims were not sleeping?
As far as the victims who are deceased, I can't say for sure. And that would be one of the details that the investigators would want to protect, because very few people would know the exact location of the victims in the house.
And there was that one article report that had said that not all of them were found murdered, or not all of them were murdered in their bed. It was I think it said it was believed that they were all like attacked while they were in their sleep, but not all of them are found murdered in their bed. The only thing I could assume is maybe somebody got out of the bed or fought back, or was, walked out somewhere else to some other part besides the bed, or maybe there was a struggle. I don't know.
Were any messages left behind in the house, like almost symbols from the killer? Because sometimes in other cases, if it was like a fetish killing, they would leave something on the body or write something on the wall. Is there anything like that?
I'm not aware of anything like that.
Could drugs be involved in all of this?
I have not heard that there's any suspicion that drugs played a role in the killings.
So not like a drug deal gone bad or something like that?
I am not aware of anything like that, no.
Police clear up miscommunication on whether Idaho students were targeted in brutal killings. Just kind of back and forth, it seems like. Play this video clip.
University of Idaho made yesterday during the vigil to honor the lives of 4 students killed there just 3 weeks ago.
The community wants answers. Police have not identified a suspect. And on top of that, investigators are going back and forth publicly over whether this was a targeted attack. Fox 13's AJ Janavel has more.
On Wednesday, the Moscow Police Department seemingly put out a statement saying they do not know if the murders that happened at the University of Idaho were a targeted attack. This happening after days of investigators saying that is exactly what they believed. Officials posted the statement on the Moscow Police Department's website and official Facebook page. The statement reads in full, quote, conflicting information has been released over the past 24 hours. The Latah County Prosecutor's Office stated the suspect or suspects specifically looked at this residence and that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted. We have spoken with the Latah County Prosecutor's Office and identified this was a miscommunication. Detectives do not currently know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted, but continue to investigate. However, officials say this update was also a miscommunication. I spoke to investigators over the phone who clarified the confusion, providing me with this statement, which reads in full, quote, our clarification last night directly addressed comments made by Latah County Prosecutor Thompson, who said the suspect or suspects specifically looked at this residence and that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted. We remain consistent in our belief that this was indeed a targeted attack, but have not concluded if the target was the residence or its occupants. This is the third statement that could point to a motive in about 24 hours, each of which contradict the others.
What the hell? Right? Like, I'm confused. I'm confused, man. I don't know what the hell going on. Bruh. Clarification. Conflicting information has been released over the past 24 hours. The Latah County Prosecutor's Office stated the suspects specifically looked at this residence and that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted. We have spoken with the Latah County Prosecutor's Office and identified that this was a miscommunication. Detectives do not currently know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted, but continue to investigate. So was there another update after this update? How many updates? What's the latest update?
On key official Facebook page, the statement reads in full, quote, conflicting information has been released over the past 24 hours. The Latah County Prosecutor's Office stated the suspect or suspects specifically looked at this residence and that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted. We have spoken with the Latah County Prosecutor's Office and identified this was a miscommunication. Detectives do not currently know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted, but continue to investigate. However, officials say this update was also a miscommunication. I spoke to investigators over the phone who clarified the confusion, providing me with this statement, which reads in full, quote, our clarification last night directly addressed comments made by Latah County Prosecutor Thompson, who said the suspect or suspects specifically looked at this residence and that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted. We remain consistent in our belief that this was indeed a targeted attack, but have not concluded if the target was the residence or its occupants. This is the third statement that could point to a motive in about 24 hours, each of which contradict the others on key facts in the case. Another element adding to the confusion of this investigation is there are several law enforcement agencies who are putting out information on the case. I have reached out to investigators to see if they will speak to me on camera about this confusion. They tell me they are not available today. I have put in a formal request to speak to them when they are available. Reporting here in Moscow.
You got to be part of the elite. I mean, you're on Fox 13, but you got to be a part of like the big ones, I guess. I don't know. News Nation, whatever. I don't know. Fox is big. So I don't need to reread this whole thing again, but multiple people are talking about the confusing statements that have been put out, which, I mean, I just, even the way some things are answered, which I'm going to get to later, to the whole unconscious 911 call thing when the reporter from Court TV spoke with the one of the police people. It was just confusing. Police prosecutors have made irregular statements about the nature of the killings. On November 15, Moscow police said in a statement that they preliminary believe this was an isolated, targeted attack that presented no imminent threat to the community at large. Police Chief James Fry backtracked on the threat statement at a news conference the next day, saying police could not be sure there was no risk to the public. Then, on Wednesday, Moscow police said that the prosecutor of Idaho's Loudoun County erroneously had said this week that the suspect specifically looked at the residence and that one or more occupants were undoubtedly targeted. The police statement said that the prosecutor's comments were a miscommunication, adding detectives do not currently know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted. That was a different tone from earlier remarks by police indicating investigators believe the attack was targeted. Okay. On Thursday, Moscow police tried to clear up the issue. We remain consistent in our belief that this was a targeted attack, but investigators have not concluded if it was the target was the residents or if it was the occupants. Okay. All right. And we're going to get to this whole 6 people living in a house, which police already kind of ruled out and said that there's nothing there, is what they say. This is something that was really interesting today, too. In this interview with Kaylee's father, yeah, he's been, speaking up a lot and talking about the case and speaking up for his daughter and I guess Maddie. So this is the word for word exchange, which we're going to listen to at the end of this recent interview, and I cannot make sense of it. Maybe y'all can. Reporter, do you believe that your daughter was the target, back to the target thing, or do you have any reason to think that she was over someone else? That she was over someone else or that someone else was? Dad says, I do have some inkling that there was some behavior difference. I call them footprint. When you commit a crime, you do something, you do different behaviors. I asked permission to give any of that out, and they told me no, it would not be beneficial, so I've held back on that. I'm just trying to keep my word. Reporter says, I'm sorry, behavior of her or someone else? Dad says behavior of the victims. And the reporter didn't ask any follow-up, any thoughts on what he meant. And people were kind of going back and forth, but like one of the top upvoted things, it says, I believe he meant the killer may have treated one or more of the victims differently during the attack of killing them, as evidenced by potentially extent of wounds or any number of variables. He was trying to describe the behavior of the killer towards different victims, but apparently Ellie said it would not be helpful to communicate the details to the public. And this is, again, like all this back and forth with targeted, not targeted, residents targeted, blah, 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 one or more, all this stuff. Let's just listen to the interview.
Who is the father of Kaylee, and he joins me now. Steve, first of all, our condolences to you and your family. We're so sorry for your loss, sir. We have kids, similar ages, and I can't imagine what you're going through. So I thank you for being here. And as I mentioned to you earlier, our goal in talking to you is to keep this story out there, to show the tip line, which we're going to put up on the screen in just a moment. But I want to get your reaction to this confusion of it is targeted, not targeted, maybe the people in the house, maybe it was the residents. What can you tell us about that?
I don't like it one bit. I know these statements take like hours and multiple individuals to review. It's not like this was something said on the side of the street within the first 5 hours of the case. These guys are professionals. They sat in a room and this is what they came out with. And they keep coming out with statements that create more questions than the answer. And then that creates a pressure. And that's why I'm feeling like there's so many people coming and looking for answers. And I'm one of them.
One of the things that you said last night about the two of them having fallen asleep in the same bed, that was new information. Is that the case, that they were actually in the same bed?
To me, it wasn't new. The coroner had shared a bunch of information about there. There was some photos. If you knew the house design, you would have seen that there was a picture of Kaylee's bed, and it was made. There was nothing in there. So it was kind of a process of elimination. If you'd been in the home, if you knew the inside information, like I knew that was my daughter's room. So to me, it had been out, but I'm sure they're not happy with me saying that. And I didn't mean to say something that was
of course
supposed to be on the wraps. But
of course
I've told them, you got to work with me. You got to tell me what to say and what not to say, and I'll listen. But sometimes they're scared to give me those advices, and I understand.
Let me ask you, because of something that you said when you spoke with Lawrence Jones, do you believe that people on this campus know something that the rest of us don't know? Do you think that there was a stalker involved in this case?
I don't think it matters what I particularly feel. I just want them to follow the evidence. I think even people who think they don't have information, I know people have been scared to share stuff because of there may be a alcohol or drugs or something in the background. I've tried to work with them to let everybody know that that's not what they're working on. But I've definitely heard from people that they're scared to submit stuff. It could be a party. It could be anything around that neighborhood within that time that could help us. And I think that community is going to solve this case just as much as those officers in that room.
You said something about, someone's car could be, in a selfie or a video of a person who said that they had an alibi, but the car isn't where it was supposed to be. Tell me about that, what you're thinking when you say that, sir.
I have an IT background. I know Teslas and some other vehicles have cameras that you don't even have to turn on and they're still recording. And there's some chips in there that you can pull data off. I know that's the way the Wi-Fi's work. So this individual could have came into these homes and partied and done things, and that data can be captured. I want this guy to be fair. I want him to be scared. I don't want him to be confident. I want him to be sick of seeing my face. And I'm not going nowhere until this guy's off the streets. And the worst thing I want is another family to go through this.
Kaylee's mom said something about being fearful that he is around, that he's watching all of this, that he could even show up at a funeral service for your daughter or one of these children.
It's pretty much a fact. He who does something like this and doesn't tune into the media? Who wouldn't? It's in his 100% selfish interest. So yes, he is. And we wouldn't want to do some kind of celebration and exclude anyone. So yeah, he could easily be there. And that's a sick kind of twisted person that would do this kind of crime.
When you talked about getting into the phone, you said we have family passwords and, we were able to get in there. Is there anything that you can share with us about what you learned there or people she was communicating with? We know there was a back and forth between she and her on and off boyfriend through the course of the night.
There was a little bit, there was some information. We were able to get that to the police officers. I think it definitely helped them. I know the behavior footprint afterwards, it did definitely get some more things in the works. But I'm a historical fact person. I can help them know my daughters and Maddie from past. But going forward, I'm going to be less and less relevant.
Do you believe that your daughter was the target, or do you have any reason to think that that she was over someone else, or that someone else was?
I do have some inkling that there was some behavior difference. I call them a footprint when you commit a crime.
So I feel like, I don't know how to interpret this. I feel like he is kind of alluding to that he feels, at least just in his personal opinion, maybe that it was targeted, that there's a difference in what the perpetrator did.
You do different behaviors.
Even though police seem to be telling us otherwise, there's been a mix of that, but I don't know.
I've asked permission to give any of that out, and they told me no, it would not be beneficial. So I've held back on that, and I tried to keep my word.
I'm sorry, behavior of her or someone she knew?
behavior of the victims.
Oh, behavior of the victim.
All right, Steve. I appreciate you
I'm not even sure what that means.
sharing this with us. And as I said, we're going to put the tip line. The tip line is up right now. It's 208-883-7180. And as you have said, none of these young people should fear that.
I'm thinking like he believes it's targeted, even though we've gone back and forth on this a couple
If
times.
they were drinking that night or involved in what most of us would consider pretty typical college behavior, that they are going to become a problem, that's going to be a problem for them. They need to come forward with their videos, whatever's on their phone, whatever they might have picked up on, in order to continue to.
What's an incel? We talked about that a little bit the other day. I should probably, while we work our way through this, we just watched this. While we work our way through this, another confusing thing. If you want to talk about confusion, the title of this live stream should just be confusion. But the incel thing are these people that like, I guess they can't have sex or something. Like, I don't know. They don't, not that they can't have sex, but like they feel like rejected by women in society. And like, I don't know, they involuntarily celibate, some shit like that. It's a bunch of, and they have like these online communities, and the problem is like some of these guys get really angry and like upset, and so they actually go and like there's been cases where they go like kill women, I guess, you know. Incel, a member of an online community of young men who consider themselves unable to attract women sexually, typically associated with the views that are hostile towards women and men who are sexually active. So not only do they are upset with women, I guess, but they're also upset with people that are sexually active. Self-identified incels have used the internet to find anonymous support. But it's like a big thing, though. It's like serious, though. These people, it's like a huge thing. And so it becomes problematic because they get really, really angry and like hateful and shit. You know what I'm saying? And so like they just, you know, they feel some type of way. You know. I was talking to you. You wouldn't imagine the conversations I've had with Sylvia about this shit. So it's like, yo, how is this possible? But, and I don't know too, like maybe it's just like they get rejected one time and then that's it. Their outlook in life changes. But like, you got to go through some rejection and L's and whatever else. But some of these people maybe for whatever reason feel some, you know, some type of way, I guess. And that community is serious because I remember one time there was a story that I was covering. And what I did say, I guess it was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. I mean, I joked around because there was this website that had a bunch of inappropriate stuff we were covering at one time. And I was like, it looks like some incel type of stuff, but really incel doesn't have to do anything with kids. We're exposing this website. It was a weirdo website. And there's a couple of YouTubers that are trying to expose to get attention to get this website shut down. And so I had joked around and said that it looks like maybe an incel's running. It could have been, but I had gotten like 2 emails and they were upset. They're like, don't put that shit on us. I was like, damn, don't put that on us, man. It's not a joke. So this is another thing to add to the confusion, I guess, but I appreciate this reporter asking this. Here is how the Moscow PD spokesperson responded to you guys' comments. I asked him twice over the last week about the possibility of a roommate passing out / fainting as the basis of the 911 call for an unconscious female. So here's clearing that up. All right. This is going to clear all the answers for everybody that's been wondering about this situation.
Maybe one of the roommates had passed out at what she saw and that was the unconscious person. Can you clarify any of that or put that to rest?
So no, I can't. I hadn't actually heard that specific take. So what we do know is that the 2 roommates were there, friends came over, and then the 911
Because
call
it's
was
just hard
made.
for some people to think this gory, bloody scene would have been just someone passed out or unresponsive. So that's
And those are all valid points, and I know that's why there's probably a lot of speculation out there. We try to only deal in fact.
And when I asked you before, you hadn't heard of that yet, but a lot of people still speculate that maybe one of the roommates was so traumatized by what she saw that she was maybe the one that passed out or was unconscious when 911 was called.
So I'm not gonna speculate, and I'm not gonna provide that information at this time. I'm sure that will come out in due time.
Maybe
that's it. All right. So hopefully that answers your question. Now, moving on to the next thing. This is just an article read. I don't think we actually need to watch this because this is the information on here on this video was just like recapping stuff, everything. But over here, and again, this is like over here. It says there was an interview with who was it? Student Kaylee Goncalves told her father that she had a stalker, but police have not been able to identify the person, according to a new report. Which maybe I should pull up the CNN thing. Did Kaylee ever talk to you about a potential stalker or somebody that made her uncomfortable? ABC News reporter Kanya Whitworth asked Kaylee's father, Stephen. She did, he replied. Police previously said they had thoroughly probed reports from family and friends that Kaylee had a stalker. Investigators who have looked extensively into information they received about Kaylee having a stalker, the Moscow Police Department said in a November 22nd press release, they have pursued hundreds of pieces of information related to this topic and have not been able to verify or identify a stalker. And then in this thing right here too, do you think Kaylee was specifically targeted? She asked the father. It's a fear of mine, he replied. It's a fear that when you have something like this happen, the last thing you want to do is hurt the other family, and you don't want to have any kind of responsibility for those people to feel like they were just casualties. I don't know. I'm not going to play the CNN thing because we've done that so many times, but it just seems like there's been kind of back and forth with the stalker thing. Not really sure. Police said they couldn't corroborate that. And I do have the website somewhere right here. Does Kaylee have a stalker? It's the same bit of information. They've pursued hundreds of pieces of information on this topic. Has not been verified or corroborated so far. So the 6-person thing. And this is a newer video we can look at that came out today or a couple hours, 10 hours ago. But police have said it has nothing to do with anything. But apparently there was a 6-person. Detectives are aware of a 6-person listed on the lease at the residence, but do not believe that individual was present during the incident. A 6th person.
We also have some new information this morning on the murders of those 4 college students in Idaho. Police say a 6th person's name is listed on the lease of the home where the attack happened, but they don't believe that individual was there at the time of the crime. 3 of the 4 victims lived in this rental home with 2 other roommates who were also at home at the time of the killings, but not hurt. Those roommates have been ruled out as suspects. The 4th victim was visiting for the night. News Nation did look into where their bodies were found, and we received this layout of the home that you see here. All of those who were killed were on the 3rd floor of the house. Police are now reaffirming they believe that this was a targeted attack.
I'm confused. Did I hear that right?
News Nation did look into where their bodies were found, and we received this layout of the home that you see here. All of those who were killed were on the 3rd floor of the house. Police.
Am I hearing that right? Did she misspeak? Can we get more clarification on this ish? Because I haven't heard that anywhere else. She must have misspoke. I don't know. Reporting like this is exactly why there's so much confusion and careless rumors spreading in this case. Victims were found on the 2nd and 3rd floor, which was confirmed by LE in a press conference. There's already enough pressure on LE by the media and public. These small mistakes are careless. Unfortunately, the reporter's ambiguous verbiage makes it sound like all 4 victims were found on the 2nd and 3rd floor, or on the 3rd floor. This is the thing. It's like, you know, yeah, I get it. Like mistakes happen and stuff like that. But I don't know. They should probably edit or chop the video out or chop that portion.
We also have some new information this morning on the murders of those 4 college students in Idaho. Police say a 6th person's name is listed on the lease of the home where the attack happened, but they don't believe that individual was there at the time of the crime. 3 of the 4 victims lived in this rental home with 2 other roommates who were also at home at the time of the killings, but not hurt. Those roommates have been ruled out as suspects. The 4th victim was visiting for the night. News Nation did look into where their bodies were found.
And I mean, she got all that other stuff, right?
And we received this layout of the home that you see here. All of those who were killed were on the 3rd floor of the house. Police are now reaffirming they believe that this was a targeted attack after saying that they were uncertain. Now, weeks later, there's still no persons of interest, no suspect. News Nation's Ashley Banfield, she's been covering this story extensively every single night on her show. Ashley, what is your reaction? What is the significance of this?
And I haven't watched this video. Hopefully Ashley heard it. Maybe she corrects it.
6th name on the lease, or is it merely a technicality?
Yeah, we're sort of trying to figure that one out. But I will say, Adrian, that we've always wondered about the 6th bedroom. There were 6 bedrooms in this house and only 5 roommates. 4 people were killed, but one of the people who was killed was sleeping over. That was Ethan Chapin. I just want to ask your control room, though, if they could pop up that 2nd floor design, that layout, too, because that's the floor right there, the 1st floor, Adrian, where the 2 survivors were discovered. This is the 2nd floor. Over on the right-hand side, that's actually where we...
And we got another, maybe it is up there. An hour ago, the City of Moscow Police Department came out with an update. But it doesn't say anything, let me see, about everybody on the 3rd floor.
Believe Ethan and Xana were found, and this 3rd floor layout we believe is where 2 of the victims were, Kaylee and
so she did go through the right details, though. So 2 on the 2nd floor, 2 on the 3rd floor.
Maddie. But now we know in one of the bedrooms, they weren't in either of their bedrooms, both girls were in one of the bedrooms and in one bed. So as far as the 6th roommate goes, we can tell you that we believe that Kaylee was in the process of moving out. She was about to graduate in January. She'd already lined up a job and she'd bought herself a Range Rover. And the word was that she was coming over to the house to show her best friend, Maddie, her new silver Range Rover. And it even had temporary plates on it. So the theory that she may have been moving out, got the new car, was about to get the new job, does square. But does that mean that someone else was about to move in, a 6th roommate on the lease? Or does it mean there was somebody who actually signed up for that 6th bedroom, which we believe, if you pop that 2nd floor map up again, is the room across from the kitchen. There's the 1st floor again, and then watch for the 2nd floor. You'll see the kitchen will be on the right at the back of the house, and then that green room C, that's the room that we believe is unoccupied. I will say this, Adrian, it's very, very sad. We do know that someone was killed on that 2nd floor, in that 2nd floor bedroom on the right-hand side of the house, because that back wall of the bedroom is the outside wall where we have now seen the very, very horrific scenes of blood actually leaking outside of the house from the floor of that 2nd bedroom on the right-hand side of the house, down that foundation. So bodies on the 2nd floor, we believe Ethan and Xana in that far bedroom, and bodies on the 3rd floor. That would be Kaylee and Maddie, but we don't know which bedroom. Kaylee's on the right-hand side on the 3rd floor, or Maddie's on the left-hand.
Well, she did it in a nice way, Ashley, at the correction, I guess.
Side of the 3rd floor.
Oh my goodness. You know, Ashley, Brian Enton, he did interview police and the DA. Police have gone back and forth as to whether this is...
So this reporter, I haven't really seen her covering it, so maybe she's just kind of like anchoring a regular show there, and then Ashley's been covering it just like Brian.
Targeted or not. I guess they're now saying, yes, it's targeted, and then the DA is saying likely not. So let's listen to this sound.
The investigators believe that whoever's responsible was specifically looking at this particular residence, but that's all that they can offer at this point.
So maybe the location was targeted, but you've said you do not, or maybe you question whether or not this was a targeted attack. Why?
I'll tell you what, Brian Enton and I work on this story every day for about 14 hours a day, and he and I are confused. So that should tell you something. I can just tell you what they have put out publicly. At the very beginning of this case, of course, everybody in Moscow, Idaho, the university campus, they were terrified. There's a deranged mass murderer on the loose. Somebody went and stabbed 4 people to death. It's a personal, horrendous, violent crime. So right away, the police said, let's pull it back a notch. This is a targeted attack, which was supposed to perhaps put the community at ease. Then they walked that back somewhat because they wouldn't say why. They wouldn't say why they thought it was a targeted attack. Understandably, they're investigating. They said that was part of the investigation. Then the interviews with the prosecutor started coming in. Brian Enton asked him very specifically about that, and he said, maybe targeted isn't the best word to use. It could be the house that was targeted or the people inside, 1 or 2 or 3, but we're not sure. Well, then that was an awkward change to the wording. And then that prosecutor did an interview with KTVB in Boise, Idaho, and said one person in the house was targeted. Well, that's a massive development in the story. But only hours after that tweet went out to promote that interview was coming, the city of Moscow said the police are putting out clarification again and saying, we don't even know.
So there's even an extra thing that I didn't even know about with the miscommunication or confusion of whether it was targeted or not targeted. There's even another another thing. It's a mess. It's a mess.
If the house or the people inside were targeted. Well, now everybody got into a real panic, like targeted isn't even the issue anymore. And yet again, last night, another clarification. The final clarification may have been an issue of semantics, Adrian, and that is that, let's walk that one back. We do know there's a targeting, 100%. It's a targeted attack. What we don't know is if it's the house or the people. So hopefully that provides some clarity, but it's been very, very difficult for the journalists covering the story moment to moment, let alone the people who live there and the kids on campus and the parents who send their kids there or may have sent their kids back there after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And again, the thought that this person, whoever did this, is walking among them and they just have no idea.
That part we know. That part we know. 100% we know. Maybe the targeted issue has been confusing, but we know for sure that person is still out there somewhere.
Yeah. Ashley Banfield, thank you. And
that person might be smiling, seeing all this crazy shit. And like, yes. Right, seeing all this shit. Oh, they're confused. They lost? Yes. Damn. So what we got? We got a bunch of stuff. This was an interview that I didn't. Wait, this was really short. This was a bit of an interview. Okay, let's do this real quick so I can jump on this update that the Moscow just posted. So Shan Lee from Coeur TV posted here the University Idaho police and security are out in full force on campus in Moscow, ensuring community/students feel safe with a mass murder at large. We'll just do a little clip here.
This campus and this community is hurting, and police are designed to make people feel safe, and we're designed for people to be safe. And it's just incredibly important for us to be here and put our arms around this community and show that we care and show that we're here until this is resolved and we could move forward from it. This campus.
And so, just to show this little snippet here too that came out an hour ago. So, okay. December 2nd, 2022. Update 1:45 p.m. As detectives move forward with the homicide investigation, a private security company has been contracted to provide scene security to free up patrol resources. The scene remains under police control. Updated information. Detectives are aware of a sixth person listed on the lease at the residence. They have spoken to this individual and confirmed they moved out prior to the start of the school year and was not present at the time of the incident. So they moved out prior to the start of the school year. Detectives do not believe this person has any involvement in the murders. Okay. There has been extensive media interest regarding an incident at the Taylor Avenue and Ban Field on November 13th. At 3:01 a.m., this incident was an alcohol offense, which was addressed by the on-scene officer. This call is not related to the murder investigations. And for further information, do records request. We remain consistent in our belief that this was a targeted attack, but investigators have not concluded if the target was the residents or if it was the occupants. So just kind of curious about that wording. I mean, it's surface, like you can read on the surface what it means. They don't know if it's the house or the people inside, but what does that mean if it's the house? Like, is it just somebody, an opportunity type of thing? An ease thing, or why that, target that house? Why wait 2 weeks? Here is Idaho students prosecutor's answer.
Crime scenes are a methodical process, and as you know, probably from watching, investigators have worked on this crime scene repeatedly and multiple different approaches since Sunday the 13th, when this was first reported. We've had the initial crime scene investigators, we've had the state forensic team come in, the FBI has sent some of their behavioral analysis.
Cricket Moon said previous tenants, ? That'd be maybe not a bad thing to look at, yeah. To check, for them to check out who was previously there. Sylvia had mentioned to me too, like, who's the landlord? Who owns that place? Who's renting it out?
People who have come in to look at the scene. It's a large scene, as you can tell. It's a 3-story residence, and we want to make sure we aren't missing anything. And we've told the officers, you don't have to be in a hurry, and they know that. They know that they can take all the time they need to make sure they don't miss anything.
And Deanna in the chat says, "iCkEdMeL, I think the killer has been watching them through their window, no curtains." I believe so too. I believe the guy was in that back part where the trees are at and stuff like that, probably watching, in my opinion, from the hill and the trees. That is why they worded it. I think that too. V Love in the chat says, with this new house targeted rhetoric, maybe it was someone who partied or stayed there years ago who's been holding a grudge because humiliated or something like in that house. It's a reach, but well, I've talked about all kinds of crazy stuff with Silvio. So I mean, I don't know. Should. Oh, we did this already. The gap. There's been a bunch of incidents popping up and stuff like that, and this is just another thing that the increase in police calls because everybody's on high alert. And so this was on the Reddit forum. Jazz sent this to me. 2 MPD incident logs on 11:30. Footprints, lurking male, stay alert, be safe. Footsteps in the snow up to her back patio, weren't there when she left for class at 1300, which is 1 p.m. Officer advised, no report. So this is just to tell you, like, the high alert that people are on out there, right? You can imagine people are literally looking, and I mean, maybe I'd be creeped out, I guess, right? If I live there alone or whatever, and I just see these footsteps, maybe it's one of these YouTubers creeping around. Footsteps in the snow up to her back patio, weren't there when she left for class at 1300. Officer advised, no report. Then we got another one, suspicious / circumstance incident. About 5 minutes ago, there was a male that was pacing in the front of the house, unknown if he is still there. Damn, bro. It just sounds, when you read these reports, it's like, damn, it's like a weirdo town. I know it can't be like that, but or maybe it can't, but when I read these reports, I just imagine a bunch of weird activities going on, people just creeping, lurking. It was the other day we were reading a thing about the shadow boxing guys just shadow boxing people. The incident where the guy was just sitting in that girl's passenger seat, she walks up to the car and this guy's there and she screams and the guy chased her or something. The reports that I'm reading, it's like, damn, it's like a weirdo, mysterious town of just creeps lurking everywhere in the shadows and stuff, I'm sure it's not like that, I guess. But when you read these reports, because of the high alert, your mind just starts like, wondering, like, what the hell is going on over there? We got this already. Okay. So I think we can do, this is, okay, so let's do this. I haven't watched this yet. This was a day ago. And this is the victim's family speaking.
This isn't at all intimidating, I must say. And I didn't write any of the funny stories that we talked about, that is service. But I would like to start by saying my name is Stacy Chapin.
Oh, you know what? Before we get into this, I know this is all serious, but I heard like this stuff is pretty, very heavy. But apparently, real quick, let me touch on this. The other day, I remember somebody in the chat had commented about the fake reporter. There was a fake reporter at this shit at the press conference, I guess. Thank you, Fresher, for sending me this. Let's check this out real quick, and then we'll get to the...
Destiny Martin with the LCSC Pathfinder. Can you lend any...
This is the lady right here.
Destiny Martin with the LCSC Pathfinder. Can you lend any insights into the possibility that the murder weapon is linked to the ROTC program? And also you mentioned that the analysis unit is here. Will we be able to hear anything from them about a working profile they possibly have?
I thought it was a little funny when she was with the phone, but I guess she's just recording herself or something. Maybe she was live streaming. I don't know. I remember her when she was doing this.
And on that note, have you guys ruled out the possibility that the killer might be a female?
So we look at every avenue. We're looking at every group of people. Like I said early in our first press conference, we're not going to let any stone go unturned.
She slipped through the cracks. No such thing as a fake citizen journalist. These true crime YouTubers are nuts. Is that a YouTuber? They go overboard thinking they're Hardy Boys or something. Oh, Lord. Oh, God. All right. So let's get to the to this.
I'm Ethan's mom. I'm here tonight with my husband, Jim, Ethan's dad, and his brother, Hunter, and his sister, Maisie, who are also vandals. I think you knew he was a triplet, and that they all go here as well. Okay. We want to start by extending our deepest condolences to all the families impacted by this tragedy. It's hard that we are without these 4 beautiful kids with us tonight. We're here tonight because the University of Idaho is a special place for our family personally. Our triplets enrolled here together because of the small town feel, the beautiful campus, and the Greek system. Those were all mandatory must-haves when picking a school. We visited a neighboring college, no offense if there's any cougs here. And it felt big and logistically challenging to our family. However, when we arrived on this campus, parked, got out, we all agreed, yes, this school is perfect for us. It feels right. The people here were kind and welcoming when we showed up for orientation, and we knew as a family that we'd made the right choice. The circumstances that bring us here tonight, they're terrible. The hardest part, we cannot change the outcome. And as a family, as a Chapin family, it's important that we share Ethan's legacy and talk about the impact that he made in his young 20 years or his short 20 years. So this is where we choose to focus our energy because we are now Ethan's voice. What I want you to know is that our family is no different than probably all of your families. We sat at the dinner table when time permitted. We played games together. We traveled. We hauled our kids to every sporting event imaginable. We had cribbage tournaments, pickleball competitions, and basketball shooting contests. We surfed and spent countless hours in our boat listening to country music, which was Ethan's most favorite thing in the whole world. We hiked. Typically, the kids did that reluctantly, I'll admit. We worked out. Our 3 kids even got their wisdom teeth pulled together. But the most important thing is that in our family, we always had each other's backs. and we will continue to do so. And for all of the things that I've listed and the times that I haven't mentioned, we are eternally grateful that we spent so much time with him. And I want to remind you that that's the most important message that we have for you and your families, is to make sure that you spend as much time as possible with those people, because time is precious and it's something you can't get back. It's really important. This is our message to you. It is really important that all you kids and all kids across wherever, even we've told this to our own 2 kids who are still vandals, you have to put your energy back into achieving your goals. Well, Ethan tolerated school. For those of you guys who knew him really well, he tolerated school. He loved the social life, tolerated class. He understood the importance and would want all of you to continue to focus on your futures and your ambitions. Once again, I want to thank the police, the FBI, the Idaho State Patrol for their continued efforts. We're also appreciative to everyone on site with us tonight and everyone around the nation. Please continue to support all 4 of our families, and remember, please be kind. Thank you to the university for organizing this event in honor of our loved ones. We are proud Vandals. Thank you.
That was a really nice speech. It did kind of make me think again too, the reminder to spend time with your family and stuff, because so easy to get caught up. I get caught up all the time, spread all over the place. You know, so it's easy to just kind of let things time goes super fast, and you never know what's gonna happen, man. Just real quick too, I forgot to show this screenshot. So the Pathfinder newspaper, it says, it has come to the attention of the Pathfinder that during the Moscow Police Department's press conference on Wednesday, November 23rd, an individual identified herself as a member of our staff. So it's not just that she showed up there or maybe trying to be like an independent reporter or like a whatever. She claimed to be a part of an organization that she's not, according to this people. This is not true. This individual is not affiliated with the Pathfinder. Members of our students and staff were not in attendance at the press conference. We apologize for the confusion. We're also confused and concerned about the actions of the individual who and have requested the behavior to cease. Our staff has covered the Moscow tragedies and story will be appearing in our next issue. I wish I could see the rest of that. But thank you for Fresha that sent me that. And again, I guess to the thing of like a town of weirdos. I don't want to put that entire town like that. But, you know, like you just get the reports and you start reading all this stuff. But that's everywhere. There's weirdo people. And there's different levels of what people would consider weirdo. But this is like weirdo shit. This is what I would consider on the level of like weirdo shit, you know? All right. Let's listen to the next portion.
I'd now like to invite Kaylee Goncalves' father, Steve Goncalves, to the stage. Just so I can let everybody know, the main reason I'm up here today is so that everybody can understand what we lost. I hope to be able to make you laugh, but I'm afraid we're gonna have to cry because we lost 4 beautiful souls. And the 2 that I'm up here to talk about are the ones I knew. And when I started thinking about how I was going to tell these people what their souls were like and the things that they shared with me, I started thinking that this is going to be really tough. So I did what you guys do. I Googled it. I went in and I looked for the most beautiful things in the world. I looked for some kind of inspiration. I knew I should have took creative writing a lot more serious because I was in trouble. But I came up with the 7 wonders of the world, and I seen them and I looked at them for inspiration, and I prayed to my girls and I said, "You're gonna have to help me here. I'm struggling." And they just came to me and they told me there should be another wonder in the world. I said, "All right, help me here." And they said, "It's the wonder of the relationship of a father and his daughter." I said, "All right, that is pretty wonderful." And you start wondering the minute they put that baby in your hand, you wonder what you're gonna do. And you wonder how you're gonna feed them and how you're gonna take care of them. And then you wonder why your wife's yelling at you because you're feeding your baby a hamburger. You know, it's like, and then you wonder, how am I gonna understand and make this the best opportunity for both of us? And you start seeing the world through the girl's eyes. And as a father, it's a little bit scary. You start seeing like the world starts having like this purple haze, and there's puppies and there's kitties and there's all these weird movies you have to watch, and they start crying all the time. But you start falling in love with this world that they built. You see this world and it changes, and you don't have pickup trucks and all these footballs. You start seeing the beauty of what they have and what makes them special. So when I was trying to see this world and I was trying to picture what my daughter would want me to say, she would want to say that she loved designer purses and brand new shoes and all these things. So that's the world as I see it now, and I never want to see it any other way. And yeah, one of the things is my girls, they gave me a sense like, don't go up there and embarrass us. And I was like, really? All right. And they're like, you just can't be a Chad dad. And I'm like, a Chad dad? But I do think I probably do need to talk to a manager in here for these lighting conditions, because it's not working. So I'm going to embarrass her a little bit, but I want everyone to know that these girls were absolutely beautiful. They had been friends since 6th grade. We both put them in a charter academy. They felt like they were being punished. 6th grade, they just found each other, and every day they did homework together. They came to our house together. They shared everything. They convinced us, they made a proposal to go to high school, to a regular high school. So then they went to high schools together. Then they started looking at colleges. They came here together. They eventually get into the same apartment together. And in the end, they died together in the same room, in the same bed. And it's a shame, and it hurts. But the beauty of the two always being together is something that it comforts us. It lets us know that they were with their best friends in the whole world. It's like a book. It's like some kind of terrible chapter, but there's beauty in it. And we're going to get our justice. We're going to figure this stuff out. This community deserves that. And when I look at all you guys, there's only one way for this to get a little better, to heal a little bit. There's pain everywhere. You're just going to have to love each other. You guys are just going to have to hug each other. You're going to have to be a little awkward, and you're just going to have to share. And the only cure to pain is love. That's the only thing that's going to heal us. That's the only thing that's going to heal you. So all I challenge you in the next week, the next days, is just go out of your way and tell someone you love them. Love the people in your room that you go back to, your apartments, your house. And that will make a difference. And that's something that they can see where they're at right now. That you changed your life just a little bit, and you were a little bit nicer and a little bit kinder. Thank you.
That was nice. me think of my daughter. Yeah, it's just making me sad, I'm trying to like hold it back too. God damn, bro.
I'd now like to invite Ben Mogen, father of Maddie, to the stage.
And I hear this is pretty sad too. I haven't watched any of this. I was gonna play this towards the beginning, but then because I had been warned, my judgment was like, all right, let me just wait. I'll kind of save this towards the end, even though I don't want to leave off like on a really, really, but.
And when they told us we were all going to be talking, I was like, man, I hope they don't have me talk after him. He's really good at talking. But Maddie May, she was the first grandkid of any of her grandparents. She was Karen and my only child that we ever had, and so she got, everything she ever did was such a big deal, and she was just such a happy, such a great kid, such a perfect little baby, and so just smart and funny and beautiful. She was just nice to everybody, and when I would meet people, ever since she was first born, when I meet people, they say, tell me about yourself, or you're just trying to get to know someone. The first thing I'd say is, well, I have this daughter, and she's here's a picture of her. She's on the dean's list at college, and she works hard, and she has all these great friends in the sorority, and she's, I just would tell them all about Maddie. I wouldn't even, they walk away from it like, I don't know anything about him. We know all about his little girl though, and yeah, we love going to go see live music. That's always been my favorite thing to do, and so I started taking her to concerts when she was younger, and we saw some really good shows together. Yeah. I'd take her and her friends sometimes. She was all upset when Mac Miller was going to come, and she couldn't get tickets, and it was all sold out, and I didn't know what I was going to do, and I entered all these radio station contests, and like the night before it happened, I won 4 tickets and got to bring her and her friends, and they were meet and greet tickets. We got to go and meet them after the show, and that was the happiest memory I could think of that we shared together was that. And but she kept on going to shows. They'd go to Watershed, her and her friends, and she traveled to Canada to go to a music festival. She loved going to music like I did, and she always worked hard. She started getting jobs when she was just like barely even a teenager. Her mom had to fire her whole housekeeping staff of the hotel that she managed, and so Maddie and her friends stepped up, and the next day they were all in there cleaning rooms, which is a hard job. I've did that for like 2 days. I was like, nope. And but those little girls were in there cleaning all summer long, cleaning all the rooms, and from then on, she always had a job. Like not all of that age of kids are all out there working all the time, but she sure was. She'd always work hard and make her own money and buy her own cars and pay for her own gas, and and I wanted to, when I was up here, I wanted to make sure and mention Jake. She got to have this. Is really her only real big relationship she had in her life was with Jake, who is such a great guy, and I'm so glad that she got to just have at least a little taste of what it's like to be in love with someone. And he's just a really great guy, and they treated each other the way you're supposed to. And I was really proud to just call him my daughter's boyfriend, and maybe someday maybe they would have gotten married, It seemed like it, at least. But I just want to thank like they said, thank all the people working on trying to figure this out. And it really means a lot. All the love and support that everyone out there has shown through this has just been amazing. I've heard from people I haven't thought about or heard from in 30 years. And yeah, just you see how good people can be when something terrible happens. 'Cause they really make you feel loved and supported when it's important. But yeah, anyway, thanks for being here, and that's all.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, it's really sad. I had some other clips too from Shanley for Coeur TV. She did an interview with him too. Let me play this over here.
Oh, she was so great. She lit up every room she'd come in, and she was just so positive and fun, and we love her and miss her so much.
What miss most about her? We liked
going to live music concerts together, and that was kind of our thing. And I'll miss going and seeing shows with her, and yeah.
What kind of music did she like to go see?
She used to like a lot of hip hop and stuff, but then she started liking country once her and Jake's her boyfriend, and he's a great guy, and yeah, they started going to country music stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're here where she worked.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is where she worked the whole time she was in college, all 4 years. And she loved it here. She loved the food and the people. And yeah, she was a really good fit. They miss her a lot here. They've been really sweet.
Yeah, this is your first time to visit here?
It is. Yeah.
Where else have you been in town?
We just got into town just a couple hours ago. And yeah, we're staying at the Monarch. Yeah, they've been really great.
Good.
Yeah.
And you plan to be at the Vigil tonight. That's why you're in town. So tell me about that and what you plan to do and say.
Yeah, I just, they wanted someone from my side of the family to say a few words. So, yeah, I'm just going to say what, some memories and what she meant and what we'll miss. And, yeah, we just say, I'm not going to write it out. I'm just going to say kind of what comes, so it's from my heart,
Sure. The police absolutely speak from the heart. And this is really the first time you're going to be speaking, right? In front of people about your daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, this was before.
Because words can't even put into what you've been going through.
Yeah, it's hard to find any words for any of this. It's just no one should have to go through this. And tell us, they're working on how many people are working on it, and that they have these leads, and that they're sending stuff in every day. So I just have to trust that they're doing as good a job as they can. And yeah, they seem like they're working hard, and that's all I can hope for.
Do you have any idea why this could ever happen to your precious baby?
Just no, nothing at all would ever make any sense of this.
If you could speak to the person responsible,
you never know how far something like this reaches, how many people it hurts, and how they're gonna have to live with this for the rest of their life. And it's something that'll never heal. It's something you just would never wish on your worst enemy.
What do you want the world to know about Madison Mogen?
That she was so loved, and that she was the thing I was most proud of in my whole life. And I'm glad that the one thing about this is that a lot of people get to see how beautiful a person that she is. And yeah, all these people have just been so supportive and great through this. So.
How do you plan to honor her memory? I haven't even thought that far ahead.
Yeah, we're not going to have the service for her Kaylee until after this is figured out. And but yeah, I'm just taking it one day at a time right now. I just want to say thanks to everybody that's been so great through this, and yeah, it really means a lot.
All right. We covered a lot of this already. This was a good post too, and this here says a few things about Xana. A few things about Xana. Xana, my wife Sarah and I met Xana for 2 weeks in July this year. By the way, it says Ethan's brother verified. I guess they verified him. So my wife Sarah and I met Xana for 2 weeks in July this year. She was staying with Ethan at their summer home. In the beginning, she was shy. At first, she kept to herself while Ethan went to work. During the 2 weeks, she warmed up to us, and we got to talk to her and know her better. She loved playing with our 5-year-old son. Her and Ethan would race Hot Wheels and monster trucks up and down the hallway with him all night long, so we as parents could enjoy visiting with my dad and my stepmother. They took him to get Oreo milkshakes and burgers, invited him on the boats with their friends, played in the water with him, even let our son use her phone for hours, making Snapchat funny faces with her, laughing the whole time. For those 2 short weeks, he even started calling her Banana because he could not say Xana very well. The 2 weeks we got to meet her were fantastic. The little time we did have to talk or joke around were great. She gave Ethan purpose. They had inside jokes that no one understood that made them crack up. He looked forward to getting off of work as a waiter to see her. If the 2 weeks we got to meet her represent her and her life she lived, the world is missing 2 very amazing people, 2 kids in their 20s that are stripped of being great parents if they wanted that, and amazing role models for the next generation. That was that little bit of insight. Oh, this too, I forgot to. This is Shanley as well. She has some really good clips on Twitter. It just didn't seem right. This teddy bear needs to see the light. I don't want anyone to forget. This man stopped by to clean the snow off the memorial of the University of Idaho entrance honoring Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, and Maddie. Let's do this here.
I lived in Moss for 20 years. Of course, at WSU, I work with young people. It just affected me. You could almost hope that it was like a transient. It's not in this area anymore, but that doesn't make it any better. But if people feel safer, come back to class and stuff. I was just driving by, and every time I drive by, I look, and I was like, oh, I can't really see anything. It just didn't seem right. These teddy bears need to see the light, so I'll do a little bit I can. But yeah, it's not much. But I don't want anybody to forget.
So, I think that's kind of it. I mean, there's other. We could listen to this as well. What could crack the case? Thank you for the super chat, Barb. Barb said they are close to solving this case. Is DNA finished? I don't know. The other day when we did the Nancy Grace live stream, there was a newscast that she did where she spoke and said something about like that the perp's DNA didn't turn up in the system. So I don't know if she just misspoke or she has inside information or what, but it implied that like they were done and nothing turned up. But I haven't heard anything officially, but Nancy Grace had said that.
They're saying the victims might not have been targeted at all. Is there a ball being dropped? Is there some reason why investigators would change course like this?
Well, thank you for having me, Adrian. I'm not sure that there's necessarily a reason. I think this is more about, I guess, damage control, if you'd say. There are conflicting messages that are getting out there with the prosecutor's office and then also with law enforcement. I think what they're trying to do is consolidate all of that messaging into basically one funnel. I still stand by what I said, that I do believe this is probably a targeted attack, but my guess is the police are trying to walk that back so that they don't have the public sort of forming their own opinions and conspiracy theories. But by being as vague as they're being, it's really leaving sort of a vacuum open for that.
But in saying that this is not a targeted incident, what more could they know that they might not be able to share with the public about whoever did this?
So in saying that this is not a targeted incident, what they may know, again, I'm just hypothesizing here, what they may know or may not know is exactly, they may not be able to really condense sort of a motive in this case. A lot of times when you see a targeted attack, you will see an overkill of one victim versus another victim. And that may not be what they see here. It may sort of be difficult to tell in that case. So that's my best guess in terms of information that they either have or don't have.
Some forensic psychologists, they've referred to the suspect as a possible incel, an involuntary celibate, which is a romantically...
So this is the reason I wanted to, I forgot, my friend sent me this because they talk about incel. And so we had kind of brought it up the other day and we spoke about it a little bit, tidbit on it earlier. I'll see if I can find any more articles on that, but she kind of goes into the incel thing, I believe.
A frustrated man who is enraged about not being able to find a partner. But you disagree with this theory.
I do disagree with this theory. One of the reasons I disagree with it is this is what I teach actually at the college level now. And, really what we see with involuntary celibates are that they tend to want to claim credit for their attack. If we look at something like the Buffalo shooting, that was someone who was associated with the involuntary celibate movement. They tend to leave pages and pages of manifestos, as well as really heavy digital trails on some of the sites like 4chan and 8chan. Also, again, their singular motive tends to be what you mentioned before, being sexually frustrated. And in this case, there are no signs of sexual assault. Now, it's not to say this case isn't perhaps motivated.
There's that YouTuber incel guy that went and killed people, right? Wasn't he incel, I think?
By frustration. However, I don't think it's part of the singular incel movement.
Yeah, good points there. We have a question from a viewer, Patrick Callahan of Miami, asking, how did police determine what time both the two survivors, because there were two roommates in the home that were not hurt, and the man, Ethan Chapin, and one of the women, our viewer likely referring to Xana Kernodle, who were killed, arrived at the home? How did police determine that timeline?
So they would determine that timeline. Typically, that's determined by digital evidence, and I believe that that's what the police said, is that they determined it by digital forensics that they found. So what we're looking at is perhaps digital recordings, dash cams, receipts from those secondary driving providers like Uber, Lyft, those kinds of things. Also, that door does have an electronic keypad, and so they probably saw that key code was plugged in at a certain time. Also, they got that through their cell phones, text messages, phone calls, those kinds of things, saying, hey, I'm heading home at this time.
Okay, one more question for you. What do you think is necessary to crack this case right now? What could be one clue, one tip that would make the difference?
Just in looking through everything, one of the things that I think is really pressing that we don't seem to have a lot of information on is really that sort of timeline gap that we have with Xana and with Ethan. I think that is probably...
That's the thing that was one of the first things that we got into, is the timeline, the perceived timeline gap.
Pretty critical in terms of narrowing that down. We don't know for sure that they left the Sigma Chi house at 9. It's just when they were last seen. And so there was
that, I forgot that screenshot that somebody sent me a long time ago, somebody claiming that they were at the party until I don't know what time, 1 or 2 or something.
A hard time believing that perhaps they didn't leave somewhat of a digital trail in terms of cell phones and those kinds of things. So I'd really like to focus in on that. And I think that that's probably what law enforcement is doing.
Tracy, thank you as always. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation now.
Border Patrol serial killer. Oh, I heard about that trial starting. Border Patrol serial killer. The heck? I'm going to show this too.
killer of the 4 University of Idaho students might be an incel.
They see the whole world through the lens of misogyny.
Nancy Grace, host of the podcast Crime Stories, says the killer may have been rejected by one of the slain women.
Incels are very, very dangerous. We know these girls were in sorority. I think that it's a possibility.
There's been a rash of killing sprees by incels. Elliot Roger killed 6 and wounded 14 at the University.
That's the YouTuber.
University of California, Santa Barbara campus in 2014. And Pretty Idaho victims were also in sororities and posted rambunctious videos of life in their party house.
If you look at the online presence of...
I didn't realize how much they had. They said it was somebody could have been following their social media for a while too, knowing where they live and stuff. Maybe they were just outside
Idaho
watching all these
in
parties going on.
2014. And Pretty Idaho victims were also in sororities and posted rambunctious videos of life in their party house.
If you look at the online presence of incels in this country, they are very, very negative and hate-filled toward beautiful women in particular.
I spoke with Idaho State Police Communications Director Aaron Snell. Does an incel fit into the potential profile of this killer?
We are not speculating on that at this point in time. When it comes available and when it's appropriate, we will release that information.
Meanwhile, Steve Goncalves, father of slain Kaylee Goncalves, expressed frustration with the investigation on GMA today.
You can't imagine sending your girl to college and then they come back in a in an urn.
That was kind of that. I think we got everything this stream. Oh, there was actually wanted to show Brian Enting thing too. Let's see here. Hold on. Okay. Just sent me this. Former first floor tenant. Okay, let's see what happens here. Come on. Lately, I don't know what's been up with the browser. It's like it's taking longer to load things up sometimes. It probably doesn't help that I have like 100 tabs open, but I don't know what's been going on lately. There you go. It's a while. Okay, let's see here. Idaho murders. Former first floor tenant of Moscow home says he couldn't hear activity from other floors. Okay. Is there an interview?
Defense attorney and a Fox News contributor. Thank you so much for being with us, sir. I want to show you these pictures from the Daily Mail showing the crime scene. We can pull them up on our screen here so people can take a look. What's your takeaway when you look at this? It looks like a pretty typical scene for college students, but does the clutter, the disorganization, does that make it harder or easier to find evidence?
Well, Jack, it makes it more difficult for law enforcement, but you're right, it is a typical college room shared by at least now we know 6 students. But when we look at this complete scenario here of what is taking place, it is, we get more from the family about what is taking place than we are getting from law enforcement. But when you look at the inside or the interior of that home, where you have really 3 stories, and the killing took place on the 2nd floor, and on the 3rd floor, it leads me to believe that it was someone who had some knowledge of that home. And if you are on the 1st floor, the only way you can get into this home is through the front door. If you're on the 2nd floor, where or at least 2 of the individuals were killed, you can get in through the back door, which is a sliding glass door. But whoever killed these 4 students certainly would have been covered in blood. And I would hope that what the authorities would do is put out more information that the public can use other than just this targeting, because this targeting has been very contradictory. At one stage, they said that the students or the house was not targeted. If those were not the targets, then what was or who was the target? And so you've got a frustrated community out there that have not been given enough information.
Yeah. Ted, in one of those pictures that we saw, there's a computer monitor that is still on. It's displaying an error message. But then in some of the other pictures, there's not very much that looks like it's been knocked over or ransacked. Does that, in your mind, help to rule out any motives?
Well, I don't think they can rule out anything at this stage, Jackie. I'm sure that law enforcement has taken a look at that computer. They've looked around each and every one of these rooms. As you know, this was and is a crime scene. And up until yesterday, the automobiles in front of this crime scene was left in place, frozen in time.
Yeah.
So they have done, meaning law enforcement, a deep scrub of those street theories to try to determine who is or was the killer. And so what they're now doing is through forensics. They are going back. They're looking at the test of the forensics. They know that this was at one time a party house. So they're now trying to do a process of elimination to try to find the killer. They're trying to also talk to anybody who knew any of these 4 students to find out if there were any beefs that anybody would have had against any one of these 4 students that would have led to this kind of a murder.
You know, we learned from one of the victim's fathers, notably not from the police, that his daughter died in the same bed as her best friend. So one question investigators have now is, how was a killer able to overtake 2 victims at the same time? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one of the things is it could have been what was their state, meaning that Madison and Kaylee, because they were both found on the 3rd floor in a bedroom together. But we do know that there was some defensive wounds about some of these individuals' bodies. So that meant that there could very well have been someone who fought. The medical examiner said that she believes that they were asleep when they were initially attacked. But during the course of the attack, somebody or somebody's fought. And as a result of that, there may very well be some DNA evidence that will help the authorities to bring the killer or killers to justice.
Okay. And the article, let's see, it's supposed to be, I think there's pictures in here. Ryan Augusta, a healthcare worker, a local business owner who now lives in Genesee, Idaho, told Fox News Digital in an interview that when he lived on the first floor of the home on King Road in 2019, unless his roommate was playing the television loudly on the 2nd floor, he typically heard nothing on the 2nd and 3rd floors. I wouldn't have heard it from downstairs, Augusta 43 said, when asked whether he could hear activity coming from the 2nd and 3rd floors of the house when he lived on the 1st floor. So somebody from 2019 that used to live there talking about, I guess, whether he could hear things on multiple levels of the place. At the time of the November quadruple homicide, there were 6 tenants listed on the lease for the home located near university's campus next door to Greek Row, where the student fraternity, fraternity and sorority houses were located. We know all this stuff already, though. The location of this and that. Augusta, a U.S. Army veteran, said he did not know of any crime in the area while he lived there. Okay, here we go. Here's the pictures. Let's see. Okay. A view of the house. Let's see, this is from November 14. The home is sealed up following a homicide involving the 4 University of Idaho students. Okay. Look at the kitchen stove. Pan on the stove. Oh, I didn't realize I wasn't even on the screen. I took myself all the way off. This is from a view of the home on November 14. Okay. In 2019, when Augusta lived at the house, the residents had code locks on each bedroom door because each bedroom was rented individually. Oh, okay. I wonder if they still have that or they don't or what. This is a photo. Ryan Augusta shows the doorknobs in his bottom floor apartment at 1122 King Road in Moscow, 2019. Oh, that's interesting. It was unclear if that was still the case when the victims began their lease in June. On June 5th, some other victims' social media posts showed images of the home that reflected that the locks had since been changed. Team Idaho and Team Washington Property Management, which oversee the property, had no comment on Friday. Okay. Oh, Augusta lived there with a handful of other people, all men at the time, who were a mix of students or employees at the University of Idaho. Interesting to know. Okay, so the previous people, which I guess makes sense, students or employees at the University of Idaho or Washington State University, or workers at nearby businesses. Augusta lived there for 6 months and moved out in December 2019. He called the residence at the time a community house. This is a state police forensics look for clues in Moscow, Idaho, November 21st. You never lock the side screen door. Why would you lock the screen door? I mean, you got locks on all the rooms, so we never locked the screen door. I guess I mean the sliding door. So back then they would never lock it. He said people would frequently use a walk path that led directly from the area of King Road home to nearby fraternities. Oh, another picture here. Close up of the inside. View into the house. This was on Thursday. People would continue to walk up that path to that parking lot back there because they probably were parked back there. Oh, people will continue to walk up the path. You hear that? To that parking lot in the back there because they probably parked back there and lived in the next door brown complex or something, Augusta explained. So yeah, people walk through that all the time. You would always hear people out front, always trash on the ground, broken bottles. It was pretty nasty. Okay. The former tenant said he did not have many concerns about his own safety in the neighborhood, but added, I was concerned for everyone else's safety at 1122 because that's where there were so many outrageous parties. I was more worried about drunken hooligans just causing a ruckus. Okay. Interesting history of the house. General view of the Moscow, Idaho home taken November 16. Augusta said he has since submitted 2 tips to police and is considering a third based on his experience around the Moscow and living at the home. Moscow police have continued to describe the brutal murders as an isolated targeted attack, which I don't know anymore. I guess it's changed. It's a targeted attack, but they don't know whether it's the residents or the people, the home or the people. That was interesting. That was a good article. Am I not pronouncing Moscow right? All right, hold on. I thought it was Moscow, right? I was saying Moscow, and people told me, no, it's not Moscow. It's Moscow. Let me pull up the, what's the correct way? Let me connect to the iMac real quick. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize it was connected. Let me just pull it up here. Correctly. They even got a whole YouTube video on this. Lana sent me this.
We are looking at how to pronounce the name of the city in northern Idaho along the state border with Washington state. How do you go about pronouncing it? Moscow, Idaho. Moscow.
Okay, so Moscow.
Idaho. Pretty straightforward. Moscow, Idaho. Here are more videos on how to pronounce the name.
It's a British person. Is that a British person correcting me? It's a damn
Pretty
shame.
straightforward. Moscow, Idaho.
Or is that a robot? Sound like a robot too. I don't know. This video's probably taken off. Thank you for that. Okay. Let's see. I think let me just check anything else we can squeeze in. I think that's it. I think we did quite a bit today. Again, thank you guys so much for coming through today. I appreciate it. Let me see if I have any notifications left, because we did 2 in one round, 2 live streams in one round. Did 2 in one round. Just want to know if we have anything for later tonight. I definitely want to follow up with this Athena, the 7-year-old. Sorry, checking here real quick. And that Vigil thing was really sad. I almost lost it there. How do I check? I don't have any notifications right now. I don't know when I'll have more. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Oh, it's going to be like at least 5 hours, something like that. So I'll probably just leave it for a chase, but I definitely want to follow up by tomorrow with the with Athena. Male femcells exist, sadly. Misogyny exists. What's femcells? Oh, snap. Maybe I need to familiarize myself with that, because I feel like I've been becoming familiar with that. I just didn't know. Bruh, femcells. Yeah, we need to call them out too. What's the femcells? I never heard of that before. Femcells are real and their existence has meaning. What? Toxic femcell echo chambers. What is a femcell? A female who is involuntary celibate. Okay, well, I don't know about any of those, but to only men. A female who is involuntary celibate to only men who she desires. A femcell can hook up, but not with the guy she wants. Oh. Femcells strive to find beauty in the pain of being involuntary celibate, sharing images of hyper-feminine women thriving despite a lack of sexual or romantic affection. The images themselves often suggest instability or recurring motives like pills, ripped fishnets, and cigarettes. Damn, they look crazy. They're looking crazy over here. Oh, this is a meme picture. The female, literally just the female version of @iCkEdMeL. Okay. No, I thought maybe I've known fem cells, but then as soon as it said involuntarily celibate, I was like, nah, no, never mind. Yep. Take that out. I don't personally know anybody like that. Not that I think anyway. All right, man. Oh, Sarah, probably, yeah, Sarah, for real. For real. She looks like she might be one of those. I can't have a guy I want, but that doesn't mean I'm going to have. True. A few. I got a few. Probably like 2, I think. Just 2. Define involuntary. True, right? No. Monks addicted to meth? No. Did you hear about monks caught addicted to meth? Nah. I don't believe it. Let me see. No, come on. Give me a break. Say it ain't so. Oh. Buddhist monks in Thailand failed drug test, leaving temple empty. Oh. What happened? Buddhist temple in Thailand has been cleared out after every one of its monks tested positive for methamphetamines, with each one being sent to rehab. Wow. Per the Washington Post, local officials were ordered to investigate potential drug use in the Fetabukan. I don't know. Phetchabun, something like that. Phetchabun province of Thailand, around 150 miles from Bangkok. The officials then began loitering around schools, factories, and temples searching for addicts and dealers to be sent to rehabilitation, but never thought they'd encounter monks as part of the problem. As a community leader, I was frightened because I never thought the monks would be addicted to drugs. I never thought that the drugs would spread to the temples. Wow. And if they're on that stuff over there in those temples, I could only tweaker monks. I could only imagine what was going on in that temple if they were all on meth. Sangut had been told by locals to investigate their temples, and said upon meeting the 4 monks, it was immediately clear they were addicts just from their erratic behavior alone. He and the sheriff tested all 4 and then another 2 from the separate temple. All 6 tests came back positive for meth. Even the head of one of the monastery, who had been a monk for over a decade, tested positive for drugs. Damn, they're all high over there. Once the test came back positive, some of the monks confessed to being longtime addicts. Holy crap. I guess that stuff is everywhere, man. When I inspected the abbot's shelter, I was stunned because it was a mess. Sangat said later, adding, they are misbehaving monks, and added and they should leave monkhood. Wow. If they can't follow the disciplines. Monkhood. Another local official named Nidhi said the ex-monks, along with other addicts, had been enrolled in rehabilitation on Wednesday. Sangat noted the monks were forced to abandon monkhood, first because having a monk inside a rehab center would have been inappropriate. Yeah, that's got to be crazy. Imagine you're in the rehab center working over there, or imagine you're one of the people getting rehabilitation, and all of a sudden, all these monks just walk up in that shit. You're like, damn. I guess it must not be that bad. The good news is Sangat said that they can become monks again after they detox from the drugs. He added it was very difficult for villagers to watch their temple completely empty out. Wow. Ooh. Damn. It's crazy these days, man, because That's why, like, I sometimes like it can't be true, but I gotta check it out because we're in such crazy times that it's like anything's possible. Meth monks, damn, bro. So they must have been doing some crazy shit up in those temples. Buddhist monks strung out on meth. Damn, bro. Must have been having some wild parties and shit. So many questions. Who sold monks the blue sky meth? Where did that go? Blue sky meth, damn. We thought they didn't have any money to buy stuff. Did someone drop a dime on them? While the villagers are now in limbo without their spiritual leaders to give them directions, backup monks are being sent to the temple. Oh, they got backup monks, okay, sent to the temple in Thailand to take over the spiritual duties left behind by the meth addict Buddhists. That didn't even sound right, but it is what it is. Wow. Drug dealers out there turning monks into fiends. That just ain't right. Well, hopefully they get the help they need, but it's kind of crazy. So the whole place converted into a meth house. Damn, yo, that's crazy. Wow. Yeah, and how are they paying for this shit, right? Backup monks. Oh, man. Anyway, and I'm gonna head out. Love you guys. Hit like on the way out. Take care of yourselves, and thank you again for all the support. The Mad Catter had to give a super chat just for the monkey story. The monk story. Thank you. Appreciate the super chat, man. Very nice. Very nice of you. Thank you. Mel, do a poll. Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw this. Will it be solved or not? Okay. Let's do that before I head out. Will case be solved? I was talking to Silva that maybe it could be possible that it may not. I mean, I hope so. And I don't even want like speak about that publicly, but like could go cold. Barb says, I think there's more than one perpetrator. Thank you for the super chat. I think that's everything. Gypsy, I missed your super chat earlier. Sorry. Jeremy, threats and media requests constantly. Poor kid. Jeremy. Yeah, leave the kid alone. I mean, he's not that young, I guess. Or probably is young. I don't know how old he is. 71% say yes, they believe it will be solved. Fasten said, I don't think it'll be solved for a couple of years. Damn. The monk meth problem is a real issue in America. That's true. True that. All right. Love you guys. Take care. Peace. Bye. Bloop, 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 bloop. I could clip that for Facebook, that monk meth story. Yeah.